Export Promotion and Branding and Money Agency, and I'll be your moderator today. So as you join in, my good friends, would ask you to, in the chat box, you introduce your name and your company in the chat box. You just type your name and your company in the chat box. And as we go on with the presentation, would ask if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box, and the panelists who will be available will, as much as possible, answer your questions in the chat box. Although we'll still have a session at the end, question and answers, in case somebody wants to ask questions verbally. So we'll start with our opening remarks, which will be from the Chief Executive of Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, and also he'll introduce also our counterparts, the DHL. And then thereafter, we're going to have a presentation from Robert Ngonga, Deputy Director from the State Department for Trade, who will be talking about the opportunities for Kenya SMEs in the US market. And this will be a very interesting topic for us, and we need to benefit a lot from that. Then after that, we'll have a presentation from Alison van den Berg, who is a Senior Director, Head of Customs and Regulatory Affairs in the DHL Express. This will be excellent so that we know everything that happens there, and lets us be very keen as we listen to that. And then after that we'll allow a small session of questions and answer. And then thereafter, we are going to have the closing remarks and the next steps forward. So thank you very much, and thank you for keeping time. Once again, kindly write your name and company name in the chat box. Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any time, we welcome Mr. Ruben Wanjala, who is the Director of Resource Center at KEPROPA. Please take the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. Good morning. As my colleague has introduced me, my name is Ruben Wanjala. I'm the Director in charge of the Resource Center Directorate, under which we conduct capacity building. For this session, I'll be sitting in on behalf of our CEO, Madam Floyce Kabana, who is held up in another commitment. So allow me to just read her introductory remarks for this session. To our esteemed guests, DHL partners, exporters, and the wider KEPROPA community, I warmly welcome you to today's webinar. The US remains one of the most attractive consumer markets globally, and for Kenyan exporters, it offers real opportunity, especially in sectors like agro-processing, creative industry, and high-quality artisan products. However, gaining access to that market requires more than just great products. It demands compliance, clarity, and constant awareness of evolving trade policies. One such shift is a recent revocation of the Minimis rule, which previously allowed shipment valued at under $800 to enter the US duty-free. As of August this year, the 29th, that provision no longer applies. That now all shipments, regardless of size or value, are now subject to duties, full customs documentation, and regulatory scrutiny. This, of course, is a significant change, particularly for SMEs and e-commerce exporters who will otherwise have taken advantage of such opportunities. At the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, our role is to help you stay ahead of such challenges and changes. And this is by providing access to training, trade intelligence, and platforms like this. We want to ensure that every Kenyan exporter has the tools and knowledge to compete globally. We are proud to partner with DHL on this initiative. Their global logistics expertise, especially in trade compliance, makes them an invaluable partner for exporters who are navigating new rules and new markets. Finally, I encourage that all of you need to engage fully, ask questions, share your experience, and take advantage of whatever practical insights you're going to get in this webinar. Thank you so much for being part of this important conversation, and let us work together to unlock the US potential as a market. Thank you and have a great session. I now wish to introduce the Acting Commercial Manager of DHL Express, Minimis, to also give his introductory remarks. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Ruben. Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. It's an honor to have you here. Yeah, like you've heard, my name is Morris Mutisia. I'm currently the Acting Commercial Manager for DHL Express here in Kenya. I'm not alone today. I'm joined by my colleague, and before I make our remarks on behalf of DHL, I would want him to introduce himself, tells us what he does, and then I'll make my remarks.
Thank you, Maurice. My name is Martin Kamau. A warm welcome to all the exporters today, and a big thanks to our partners at Keproba. Very excited to provide some value today to exporters as we look to take advantage of the US market. Karibuni sana.
Thank you so much, Martin. So on behalf of DHL and DHL Express, but generally the DHL group, I am delighted to welcome you to this important webinar on what's happening with the US market, which is a major trade lane for Kenya as a country, and how DHL Express and Keproba, we are partnering together to support SMEs in making sure they navigate the challenges which are coming with these changes. As many of you know, the global trade environment, not only in the US, is constantly evolving. And the reason the tariff changes and the removal of de minimis in the United States presents a challenge and also an opportunity for certain exporters. So for small and medium-sized enterprises, navigating these shifts can sometimes be daunting. However, SMEs remain at the heart of international growth, driving innovation, job creation, and also economic development. That is why today's session is so critical, and DHL as the world's leading logistics provider and Keproba as the key agency driving Kenya's export promotion have come together to ensure that our SMEs are not only well informed about what's happening out there, particularly in the US, but they are also fully equipped to take advantage of the new opportunities which are created by these changes. In this webinar, we look at what's happening with the removal and what you can do, and the potential implication also for us as a country, as SMEs, as exporters, and most importantly, how DHL and Keproba are closely working together, collaborating to simplify access to the US markets. Together, as entities, we are committed to providing SMEs with the knowledge, the logistics support, and the advisory services needed to remain competitive and to continue growing beyond borders. I want to encourage you to actively participate in this forum, ask questions, share your perspectives. This is an opportunity for us to learn together, to connect to each other, and build a stronger foundation for taking our products to the international market. So once again, thank you for joining us today, and we are looking forward to an insightful, empowering discussion that will help shape the next chapter for SMEs here in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ruben Wajala and Mr. Morris Mutisia. Thank you very much. Yes, this webinar is very timely. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll continue indicating your name of your company and also what you do. It's also, I can use the chat box for even networking, and so that we can also see how we can work together. So ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter, as he's putting up his slide, is Mr. Robert Ngonga. He's a Deputy Director the State Department for Trade. He has a lot of experience in issues related to international trade. So, Ngonga, you can put up your presentation so that you can take through. And one thing you maybe Ngonga is also used to be also Kenya's commercial attaché based in Washington, D.C., the Kenya Embassy. So, Mr. Ngonga, please welcome. The floor is yours. Thank you very much. Thank you. We can see the slide. You can put it on slideshow mode.
I don't know whether it's there.
Now it is there. Perfect. Kindly proceed. And thank you very much, Mr. Ngonga. Proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tumbo. As Mr. Tumbo has said, I'm Robert Ngonga. I'm a Deputy Director at the State Department for Trade. And as he has mentioned, I served in Washington, D.C. up to February this year. That is from 2020, the late part of 2020 up to early this year. And when I came back now, I'm the head of bilateral at the State Department for Trade. And I'll be sharing with you the U.S. market opportunities for SMEs that our SMEs can actually capitalize on and access that market. The market is highly dynamic, and you need actually to keep pace with the demands, changes in taste and preferences of the consumer. But it's also a very lucrative market that I would wish most of our SMEs to access this market. So in terms of the presentation outlay, I'll just take you through our Kenya-US trade, especially the figures. Then we would look at the products that we export and also import from this market. Then I'll briefly look at possible opportunities for SMEs. So, and then the market entry we want to consider, and then the resources available. Just because of time, I've just prepared a short presentation. Maybe after my presentation, it may elicit questions that I could respond to, just to make the presentation comprehensive. So that is those are our figures from 2020, and that's how we've traded with the US. The figures are in Kenyan shillings, and as you can see, our deficit with the US has been, sometimes it's decreasing, sometimes it is increasing. But the latest figures indicate that we have a deficit with the US market. Sorry. So that is just the graphical presentation of how the trade is, export, imports, and then the trade balance. So with the US market. Then what are the top products that we export to the US? So they include textile and apparels, coffee, tea, edible fruits, nuts, cut flowers, mineral oils, and others. Potential exports that we are currently exporting to that market in small quantities, like avocado, onions, sorghum. Sorghum we are not exporting to this market, but I see a lot of sorghum coming from West African countries. There are also a bit of handicrafts that we also export to this market, but we've not fully utilized the handicraft aspects as some other countries have done. Then our top imports are like the aircraft and the air. Sorry. aircraft and parts, machinery, and generally wheat and electrical machinery, among others. But how do we access this market? So there have been some arrangements under which we have been accessing this market, and the popular one has been the AGOA, which was enacted in the year 2000 and is set to expire at the end of this month. And there are no signs that AGOA may be renewed, given the recent tariffs that the US actually slapped a number of countries, and Kenya was actually slapped with a tariff of 10%. So that does not send very good signals that AGOA may be renewed. Then
we are losing you. Come back, Monga.
Okay, you are losing me. Hello?
We can hear you
Hello,
loud and clear. We can hear you loud and clear. Yes, we can hear you. Proceed.
Okay, so
proceed.
Yeah, so we've been accessing the US market through AGOA, which I've said is actually set to end this month, and there have been no signals that AGOA may be renewed. And given the tariff that we have been slapped with at 10%, the prospects of renewing AGOA actually becomes very slim to us. So then we have also been accessing the US market through the general system of preference, which expired in, I think in December 2020. Congress has not renewed the GSP program. So AGOA was GSP plus 2,000 products. So AGOA was actually around 6,000 products. Then another arrangement that we access the US market is what we call the most favored nation status, where we compete actually in equal footing with other players who are accessing that market. So I'll move to the other part on the possible opportunities for our SMEs, and one of the things that has of late been getting to the US new products are like dried vegetables, and some of them you can just see beside the screen there. A Kenyan is exporting those dried vegetables, cereals, and other flour. I'll talk about cereals and other flour because they also have their conditions on how they enter the US. But there are opportunities like sorghum that I told you actually immediately comes from West African countries. There's the finger millet, there's the amaranth, there's the banana flour, there's sweet potato flour, and also simsim. Then dried fruits also, they have their conditions on how they enter the US, and generally fruits. So like also dried fruit, nuts, and seeds like mango, peanut, pumpkin seed, and such like. Then there also potential for home decor products, things like mat, wall paintings, decorative accessories, lighting accessories, kitchen and dining textiles, assortment of jewelry and beauty products. This could include, but not limited to, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, and anklets. Then there are also potential for textile and apparel that we currently export a lot to that market under AGOA, but we could also look at maybe the African wear for people with preference for the African wear product. Then Utility products also, this market has a potential for, and these are things that mostly are manufactured by the SMEs or are produced by the SMEs, things like key holders, pen holders, gift items, storage baskets, picture and photo frames, wall clocks, gift bags, shopping bags, wallets, etc. There are also other products like coffee that you can work closely with the roasters in the US for those who want to roast the coffee. Then also tea also has a potential in this particular market. But just as I said, for products, especially most of the agricultural products, there's what we call the pest risk analysis, which US demands that most products undergo this pest risk analysis before they can be exported to US market. This is actually to address issues of diseases and also, and majorly the issues of pests and diseases so that they don't transfer them to other sides. So I'll move to others, especially the professional services. They are those who want to set up companies here. They want to understand the legal framework that is in place for their businesses. There are also those who want to acquire property, so they need some of these professional services. And this can be done by the SMEs who are actually operating here to help them register companies and also assist them meet some of the regulatory requirements in specific sectors. Other services would be like accounting and finance. There are also others in ICT, and this actually appeals to the young people and also the SMEs. Then research and consultancy services. Some want to understand the market, so they need people who can undertake research on their behalf. Those who can undertake consultancy services. And also services like education, for especially for undertaking jobs like being agents for US universities, recruiting for them students locally here. These are things that can appeal to the SMEs, especially if you understand the US education system, the demands of the universities and their various requirements so that guide those who wish to apply. So maybe in terms of market entry, what to consider, there are products, especially those that fall under food and drugs, that have to be subjected to a registration by Food and Drugs Authority, and something that they monitor your products from time to time once they are in the market. Then the pest risk analysis, especially for fruits, vegetables, herbs, cereals, cut flowers, and such like, you could get in touch with KEPHIS, the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate, just to guide you on the products which have been cleared under the pest risk analysis, and also for other phytosanitary requirements. You could also get in touch with the Director of Veterinary Services, especially those who wish to export meat and meat products in the US. There are a set of requirements you have to meet before you can take your products to this market. Also of importance is to understand the packaging requirements for this market, how you label the packaging material that you use. And also the distribution strategies that you would consider to use in that particular market. So there are key resources available that can assist you enter this market, and the State Department for Trade can offer guidance. KEPROBA is right now offering some support in terms of information, and they can also give you statistics on the U.S. market, and also the products that the U.S. Imports from various parts of the world. The Kenya Embassy in Washington, D.C. can also provide information. Right now, the trade attaché has reported and is now able to navigate that particular market for the SMEs in terms of providing information. There are also regulatory institutions that can provide you with information. Yes, as I said, Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate can give you information on products, especially that have products that have been cleared under the pest risk analysis and the diseases, just to appreciate how you can enter that particular market. The Directorate of Veterinary Services can also provide information, as I said, for those who want to export meat and meat products. And KEBS can also provide you, especially with the standards on this particular market. We also have got BMOs locally here, which can BMOs that can give information about this particular market. We have the American Chamber, which is based here in Nairobi. They can provide you information, especially those who wish to get partners information about the US market, and generally just appreciating the market large, they can provide that information. KEPSA also can provide you with the information. KEPSA entered into an MOU with the BMO in the US called the Corporate Council on Africa. And that MOU is supposed to facilitate SMEs actually get markets to the US, and also to get partners from the US that they can do business with. The US Embassy in Nairobi can equally provide the information, a lot of it, and they are very invaluable actually in understanding the US market, especially the commercial section of the embassy. So that's all, and thank you for your attention. Maybe I look forward to getting feedback from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert Ngonga, for the presentation. We really appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, we will share the presentation. We are also live. We are recording through YouTube, and also we'll send you the link of this presentation so that you can listen keenly, especially those even who came late, so that you can understand all the issues that are there. As we wait for Alison to put up her slides, because she's the next presentation, I continue welcome you and encouraging you to kindly type your questions in the chat box, and the panelists will be able to answer. So ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any time, would like to invite Alison van den Berg, who is the Senior Director, Head of Customs and Regulatory Affairs. We are really privileged to have you. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Charles. And yes, thank you for allowing me to speak at this webinar. I've seen in the chat there are some questions which I think during the presentation might already answer some of those questions. I've seen a question from Crafts of Africa, for example, regarding charges that we're encountering, and these are all the impacts that we know are going to affect us with this new tariffs and new setup in the US. And I'm hoping that during the course of this webinar, we can unpack those things and we'll get the answers to those questions. So without further delay, I'm just trying to, okay, I need some technical support here, Morris. I'm just trying to change my slide. I'm not too sure why it's not changing. Okay, there's just a delay. Thank you. Firstly, as you know, I'm with DHL Express, and I'm just requested to remind you that we're not really in the business of advisory. So, although these are high-level guidelines about shipments being moved internationally to the United States, we do ask that shippers do their own research, and you will see on the presentation that we had before that obviously there's a lot to, depending on what your product is, the shipper has to do their own research and be familiar with the requirements, not only of the origin country, because obviously we're assuming that all of the products, the exporters here are dealing with Kenyan products, but it could be that they're not of Kenyan origin. So one must always just be aware of what is the origin of one's product and what are the import requirements of your destination country. And, get the advice you need from formal regulatory advisors. And you've got some information just before this, which I thought was very useful, on where you can go for this kind of information. And I guess it's just to know that what we as DHL Express want to share information to assist shippers and customers to the best of our ability. We're not advising formally. Also, just to give you a background, this is who I am. I'm with DHL Express Regional Services. So we have a regional office where we have support for our country operations. I'm for Sub-Saharan Africa, so that would include Kenya being in our region. And I'm focusing on customs compliance and regulatory affairs, which includes aspects of engaging with customs authorities, for example, to speak for the express industry and all the issues that are particular to our industry. But let us get on with the details of, obviously, the change we've discussed and what the latest change is for the US removal of de minimis, which I'm sure you're aware took place from the 29th of August. There was various back and forths by the American president. I can tell you that my counterpart in the Americas, Maria Fernandez Font, has had a very difficult time in the last 6 months trying to keep communications up to all countries in the world on, as President Trump make these changes very regularly, and to try and understand them and to make them available to everybody in DHL Express is a very difficult task. And we understand, of course, as well, that all the shippers in the world are, trying to deal with this change, and that it's very difficult. So I think we need to just, we've tried to simplify as much as possible. And I guess just from your point of view, just to get the main points that will affect you as a shipper. And obviously the main point of the de minimis treatment is that it applies that all shipments now. The difference is that de minimis meant that, under that value of 800, there wasn't any clearance function having to happen at all. In other words, everything just arrived and there was no duty payable, there was no formal clearance at all, whereas that's now changed. Obviously, there's still the postal shipments are treated differently. So we're talking now just couriered items as opposed to postal items. There's different requirements. And then obviously they also have a gifts requirement, which is excluded. So most countries, or all countries actually, have a provision that gifts are, something that's not dutiable, for example. And historically in the US, because of the de minimis, nobody really actually had regard to the gifts and personal items situation, because it was all most gifts were under the $800 limit anyway. So, it didn't become an issue. But it's obviously, I guess what I'm telling you is this is a very risk area of, or I would say a loophole that the US has also said they're going to fine very heavily. So if you hear people saying, just a little word of advice, if you hear people saying, oh, just say it's a gift and then you can go under that, they've made very, very stringent fines for an abuse of this gifts thing. So don't even consider that. It won't be worthwhile for you. But in effect, every single item, no matter how small, has to go through a formal clearance now. And this is a massive impact for the US customs and also for all those, for example, in the courier industry like DHL Express, where we now have to process all these and employ a whole lot of people to do this task. And obviously there's costs attached to it. And again, doesn't matter where it comes from. In the beginning, this was only applied by the US to China and, certain countries, but now it's for the rest of the world. So going into the impact again, let's just break it down. So you're aware as an exporter, I presume, that there's a tariff, code attached, or an HS code, what we call harmonized tariff code attached to the product that you have. And that, if there's no de minimis, there's a general rate of duty. So that would be the duty, for example, when a product comes into Kenya, for example, under that tariff code, you look at the tariff general rate of duty in the Kenyan tariff, and you would find the general rate of duty. That's what the general rate of duty is. So we're talking here going into the US, what was the general rate of duty? Obviously, a lot of products would be zero, but a lot of products have a general rate of duty. And then to that, we would have to add this IEEPA reciprocal tariffs. That's the 10% that our colleague this morning mentioned. IEEPA stands for that International Emergency Economic Powers Act, and that's the act that President Trump used to create all the executive orders, which have been challenged as not necessarily legal, but there's no limit to manner in which these can be effective. But this is the IEEPA reciprocal tariffs that have been added for Kenya at a flat rate of 10%, and then any other applicable duties. All shipments will now require an informal or formal entry, those or both, a declaration. It's just depending on the value, it would be informal versus formal, and it just affects the number of data items that appear on that entry or how complex that entry is. Again, as mentioned by our colleague before, this also includes Food and Drug Administration subject products, which were previously considered low risk and allowed to be cleared under the de minimis protocol. These will now be required to be held for separate entry and declaration to the FDA. So the relevance of this, of course, is, you need to do the research and find out what has to happen, and that this can cause some additional administrative delays. This slide is just an illustration of the concept of stacking of the duties, starting, as I mentioned before, with number one of the general rate of duty, which always applies unless there's a particular EU exemption. Of course, this slide and this presentation has been prepared for any regions of the world. So I know a lot of it doesn't affect you as a Kenyan exporter, perhaps of a Kenyan origin product, but just be aware, if you are trading in products or exporting products that are not Kenyan origin, that you need to be aware of all of these different duties that apply as a stacking and in a stacked order. I think that's the thing, is that, in other words, you have to add one, start with one and add all of the others to get to the end total duty. I mean, in some cases, there's products like auto that may from China that have up to effectively 200% added to the value. So these are very onerous duties. Just to illustrate as examples, and I'm sorry I don't have one for Kenya prepared. I didn't really prepare these slides, but it has been a generic presentation. But if I can just give you an example of how these things add up. So let's say, for example, you have a man's cotton shirt from Mauritius with a value of $50. That's the general rate of duty. Firstly, going to the US would be 19.7%. And then you have to add that 15%. So there's a lot of countries in sub-Saharan Africa that are on 15%. So, you know, although things are bad, at least Kenya's on 10%, like Senegal is on 10%. South Africa, we've got 30% reciprocal tariff. So just to give you an example of others that are on 15% IEEPA tariff in SSA, it's Mozambique, Mauritius, Malawi, Madagascar, Uganda, Angola, Cameroon, Botswana, Chad, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Equatorial Guinea, Ghana, Lesotho, Namibia, all on 15%. So at least, you know, I guess that 5% is something. But of course, there's also this merchandise processing fee, other than the duties that one adds, that attaches to a value. So you'll see that example, that $2.62, that's a customs, US customs charge that gets added on, and it's dependent on value. As I said, if it's under $3,500, it gets that additional charge. And so, you know, these charges add up, as you can see. I mean, the other example is you see a face cream from Senegal. It's 0% going general rate of duty into the US, but the reciprocal now gets added. And now this is an additional other duty, which applies if there's no other. So you always have to have regard to these duties. But I mean, I think rather than focus on how, you know, onerous this is, let's look at how we can deal with these charges and how we can prepare ourselves so that we don't get inconvenienced or lose customers because of this. I think that's what we suggest is done to help you. Number one is always provide the best possible good quality commercial invoice data. This is what the US has also put out there to ask us to do, to make sure that smooth clearance, that there's no delays. So that means making sure that we've got the correct HTS code for the US, if you're exporting to the US, that you've got proper detailed good description. So for example, you know, sometimes people just put shirt or whatever instead of cotton male shirt. So just be aware that the goods description, you know, have regard to the wording in the tariff. If you want to have a perfect goods description, have regard to what the tariff itself describes it as. That's always a good guide. Information about the manufacturer, where it's applicable, accurate values, of course, and the item quantities, and very important, country of origin. Make sure that you understand the origin of the goods that you are exporting, and that there's the required indication of origin or proof of origin. Then valid consignee contact details, very important, especially if you're wanting your customer to be contacted for payment of these items. There will be delays if they can't get hold of them. And then commercial invoice data versus commercial invoice document consistency. So that's just saying that making sure that the information is consistent on a hard document versus an electronic invoice. Another thing, and this is obviously a big cause of problematic, timely payment of duties and taxes. With the elimination of de minimis, we're expecting an increase of 3 to 5 times in shipments. Well, it has already going into that's our payment system, meaning there can be, you know, shipments held for payment. So to mitigate holds, B2B customers should either provide a valid duty and tax import account number for delivered to DTU shipments at a time of shipment creation as part of the data, or ship DTP. And I'll explain what that means. But for B2C customers, clearly indicate the terms, DTP or DTU, and inform your customers in the US that duties and taxes will now be paid before their shipment can be released. So this DTP or DTU referred to here is not an Inco term. It's sometimes mistaken, but this refers simply to the DHL Express billing service. So DTU means that you as an exporter, say if you've instructed DHL Express to deliver this item to your customer in America, that you expect that customer, when the goods arrive, to pay the duties and taxes on arrival of the goods, and only once those duties and taxes have been paid or collected will the item be delivered to your customer. Whereas a DTP service is where you instruct DHL Express to charge you in Kenya on your account for the duties and taxes that your customer has to pay on the other side. And that obviously, if you take that service, the advantage is that there's no delay having to wait for payment by the customer. There's nothing your customer has to do, and they just receive the package, and your pricing includes that. When you speak of it. So I think the biggest message to get today is to make sure that the customers you're selling to, in whatever way you achieve that, are aware of these additional charges. It's not only the duty itself, it's also the charge of formal clearance, which previously wasn't there. That's obviously something you'll experience. But from a customer being surprised that they suddenly have to pay this 10% plus whatever the general rate of duty was, that you don't get any surprises and accordingly delays. Also, of course, ensuring all your import requirements have been met for the commodity you're sending. As mentioned before, like the FDA products like foodstuffs, medication, cosmetics, skincare, and also that your products must have the country of origin markings. So then, can DHL provide assistance to you? I don't know that you've ever worked with it, or you know about the MyGTS, which is the Global Trade Services free AI-powered online portal designed to simplify international shipping and customs processes. We hope that it can be useful to SMEs because it offers like a pre-shipment planner, which helps businesses comply with import and export regulations and calculate the landed costs. So you can put into the system what the product is and see, what the expected duties are, so that don't get any surprises. It helps you with the HS code or the HTS code classification. If you put the goods description, it will suggest what the HS code should be there, and landed cost calculator again. Also, country-specific trade guidance. It offers insights into the import and export requirements for different countries, reducing the risk of delays. Customs documentation templates, product catalog. It enables users to save the product details and tariff codes, and gives you some trade lane comparison tool as well, which is a new feature, and it allows users to compare trade regulations and landed costs between different country pairs. This helps you decide on the most cost-effective and regulation-friendly shipping route. There's a big, strong message from our US colleagues to please have specific details compliant in respect of shipper and receiver. The commercial invoice data quality. We will share this after, so you have this as well. It's a non-exhaustive list, but it covers the important elements to help make sure that your import clearance will be smooth. And import and exporter must still research or assess the regulatory requirements for the goods, but just to be clear that the shipper and the exporter or receiver and importer details should be, fully detailed. And also identification number, if applicable, use the identification number of the parties. For example, VAT number, GST number, or import-export of record number, and so on. Goods descriptions again, and HS codes, as well as value and currency, very important to get those correct. Again, indicating the line item or gross or net weight of the items, the quantity, the Incoterms. There we're talking Incoterms on your commercial invoice, which is, whatever Incoterm you use, the reason for the export. Please indicate the reason for the export of goods. Is it permanent? Is it a temporary export? I'm sure in your case it would always be a permanent export. Proof of origin statement, depending on the setup, what that requires, and then other documents or other requirements etc. Goods description. Please ensure a complete and accurate goods description is included on both the invoice and the waybill. Acceptable goods descriptions include complete information providing sufficient detail about the precise in plain language. It should include what the goods are, what the purpose of the goods are, what they're made of. And this makes sure that the customs authorities are able to identify, for example, prohibited and restricted goods, as well as to perform adequate risk assessment and for security reasons. We don't want delays by the authorities keeping goods which were not accurately described. Let's just look at for an illustration of what a good or bad description I did provide earlier, but just to give you another example. People do these sort of things, and it does lead to problems, but so not good enough, for example, to say just samples or just apparel. You know, say it's samples of curtains and interior blinds made of cotton, for example. People put things like parts instead of saying it's parts of pumps for liquids fitted with a measuring device made of 100% steel. Because remember, there's duties that are based on the steel content as well. So what it's made of and the percentage of what it's made of is relevant to classification. Another example, gifts, not just putting gifts, but put it that if it was a gift, a prescription sunglass frames made of acrylic, for example. And then textiles again, similarly. That's the level of detail that is suggested one should do for goods descriptions. Then in this presentation, we will just make these available. We've got links to all these websites to get the detail if you want to check something. I mean, there's massive amounts of information on the White House site, but this is where you find the reference to these tariffs and how they're broken down. Of course, we recommend you just use the simplification that we've got here. But if you want to go and have a look at specifics, there's all these sites available. And we've put all these links in the presentation. And so we're now, I think, at the stage where we can open the floor to questions. But I will leave it to my host to manage the process in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much for the presentation and all the information you provided. It will be shared.
Yeah, I see. I have a question from Mr. Ron Adani.
Yes,
I know you said we should answer in the chat box. Should I answer in the chat box?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. Thank you.
But if you want to give it a try, you can just answer the issues he's raised.
Yes, so I did see earlier, for example, Mr. Ranadani had asked about, he'd had a problem in that they'd incurred fees on arrival, and it was, you're saying they said $17 was DHL handling fees, and so I've checked with my colleague in the meantime, and it is so that the US clearance fee by DHL Express is $17. And then there's the 10% IEPA reciprocal tariff, not knowing whether the product had also a general rate of duty. So the question was, what can one do, about this? Unfortunately, the short answer is that customers needed to communicate to their, we could just say you need to communicate to the customer that there are these charges, and then the DTP billing service is the way to avoid the delays, etc. But the MPF fee, remember the $2 odd is the US merchandise processing fee. That's a customs fee. Then the additional question then asked in the chat box now recently, I see by Mr. Ronadani, is what is DHL's fee? So I think that is the $17. That's the clearance charge for a formal clearance, where previously under de minimis there wasn't any clearance charge at all because there was no processing of a clearance. That's how it is. And then he's also asked, is DTU or DTP related to different extra handling fee for DHL? No, DTU is just the service, as we said. There is no when you ship DTU, it's the scenario where the customer on the other side is having to pay the duties that are due as a collection to pay over to customs before the goods will be released. Whereas if you elect to use the DTP service of DHL Express, it means that those duties will be charged back to you as the exporting customer of DHL Express, and your customer will not be asked to pay the fee first. I hope that answers, and we'll see if we can answer the other questions in the box. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well answered. There's a question here. The label box areas on forms are normally so tiny to fit all the details. Is there?
I'm not sure what label box are you talking about. Is that a? I'm not sure if that's a. You're talking about a DHL packaging, or you're talking about which forms you're talking about. I'm afraid I can't answer that, but I found it looks very frustrating. Very frustrating.
Yeah. So maybe you'll come clear. You can also contact us.
I will inquire about that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Do we have
any question for any other question for Ngonga? Ngonga Gelsa gave a presentation. We are doing very well on time. Also, I would like to take this opportunity also to welcome Mr. Morris in this forum to how the SMEs can utilize the services of DHL. And we've sent you a questionnaire, a customer feedback questionnaires, so we can get the survey of the feedback on this presentation. So over to you, Morris and Marcin. How can the SMEs in this webinar access all your services? Thank you very much, Alison, for the presentation. We really appreciate. So now we're going to this section of the interactive section, and that is one I've requested Maurice Mutisia to guide us on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alison. That was well presented, and thank you so much, Charles. Yeah, DHL is a purpose-driven organization, so we connect people to improve lives, and we just need to be in touch with you as an SME to basically understand what you are doing as a business, what you are looking at, what kind of products are you shipping, to where, and then we can craft a solution on how you can be supported. There's a question I want to link this response to. I saw Paul asking, do we have an API to integrate our website with DHL to handle the backend? And the answer is yes. We do have an API which integrates with your website and gives your customers an opportunity to see how much it will cost to get their products to the other side. We've gone as far as designing another system. We call it MyGTS. And this is a system which helps you calculate landing costs, in addition to telling you what is required from a regulatory point of view to get your packages clear through any country. Yeah, so Charles, if you allow me, there's a link I'll share in addition to the one you've shared. For the ones who specifically want to engage us directly, or now we can support them, then they can share their details on that link, and then we should be able to get any of our international specialists, engage them and support them.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, say somebody wants to get clearance, to come out clear. What is DHL Express, DHL Supply Chain, and DHL Global Forwarding? Maybe you can guide us.
Thank you so much. I want to ask my colleague Martin to respond to that one.
Thanks, Maurice. So DHL Group has different divisions. Specifically in this region, when looking at a multimodal form of transportation in terms of the sea, road, rail, and of course air. And there are primarily three divisions. There's DHL Express, where we sit, where we take care of the courier business. We are more of the visible part of the DHL business. And then, of course, there is DHL Global Forwarding that takes care of your sea shipments and bulky air freight shipments. And then there's also DHL supply chain that does the warehousing and the road freight. So those big trucks that you see on the road written DHL are from our division DHL supply chain. So we're able to support you on an end-to-end basis in regards to your supply chain, whether here in country, in the region, or globally as well. So I hope that clears up for that question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Videsh Shah will be sharing all this presentation. It is also live on YouTube. So we'll be sharing the presentation. What about the issues of integrating? If you have an app to integrate, somebody's asking how, if there's an app to integrate the website to handle the back end. Is it possible, Maurice?
Maurice did answer that earlier, didn't you, Maurice? Yes, we do.
Yes, I answered that. It's possible. Look, the right answer for that question is, and related to the question I've seen there around the DHL Express, DHL supply chain, we are a group which builds solutions for our SMEs. So there's that SME will want integration, another one will want whatever, depending on what your customers are looking for. So we should be able to craft a solution which responds to your problem and aligns with your growth strategy, because I want to believe all SMEs, and especially the ones in this forum, have a goal, maybe to grow their businesses, to grow their revenues. So all these entities here and the kind of solutions we are building, the APIs, the MyGTS system, which is a game changer in terms of determining destination requirements, are all geared towards supporting you as an entity. Maybe a question to Alison. With the recent US changes, do we have those changes already integrated with the MyGTS, so that if somebody goes to MyGTS and they are sending something to the US, they can be able to quickly determine the destination taxes and also regulatory documents required?
Yes, there was that part in the presentation where you dealt with it, MyGTS. It's detailed in those slides if people want to refer again. Are we waiting for Mr. Charles Tombo? Morris?
Yep.
I see Morris is visually, the screen is not operating, frozen. So.
Yep. That's on my side, sorry. I can hear you, Alison.
Okay, great. No, just for me, Morris and the screen is no longer active, so I'm not sure. Oh, there we go, back again. The connection was a bit poor. Okay. Just looking at other questions here. Okay.
There's a question from Kim.
Paul Okech said that his question hasn't been answered. I don't know.
Okay. Has it been answered?
Yeah, I think maybe we can start with Kim's question. Can DHL support Kenyan SMEs with the consolidation of goods to the US to make it cost-effective? Small packages from different senders shipped under one shipment to the US, then deconsolidated. Alison, you want to take this one?
I have to just check with a colleague in the meantime. If you could just give me a minute to double check on that. I'm not sure that, look, it is possible to have that happen, but whether it's part of the service we do, I'm not sure that is a standard service that we do. I'm just inquiring if you could just hang thin for me while I get a reply on that one. I see Mr. Paul Okech said, my question's not been answered, so we just need to go back to Mr. Okech. Hang on. Yes, we did answer. Do we have API? Yes, okay, that has been answered now.
Okech's question. What's Okech's question?
It was about the API integration.
Okech.
Yeah.
I think on consolidation, I want to respond just as Alison is checking on the question of consolidation. So we have a service which we call it break bulk, where as an entity as an opportunity to planning, because these are products which are going to go through customs. They are going to be distributed to various receivers. So it's a solution which basically needs to be crafted and built for the entity to whichever SME or entity needs that.
Okay, thank you. The solution is great. So, ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate, and we really kept time. We've learned a lot, and our job is now to implement. And our way forward is actually we continue having these webinars, which are very important, so that we can learn about the new systems that are taking place. So that will be more of the next steps that will go on with it. And maybe now we can just have our parting shot, and we'll invite Mr. Ngonga. Can you just give us our parting shot? So all the panelists.
Yes, I'm grateful to have been part of this meeting. And I'll just encourage those who wish to export to the US market to actually exploit the resources that I listed in my presentation. And also to get in touch, to work closely with the CAPROBA as our implementing arm of the Ministry on Trade Promotion Matters. So I wish you well, and we hope to interact more in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ngonga. We really appreciate. And our parting shot from Alison van der Berg.
Oh, yes, sorry. Trying to type. Yes, we have the consolidation question. There's a service called Break Bulk Express that's a solution, but it only works if the shipper has an entity in the US that's willing to act as the importer of record. But that is a possible service, yes.
Thank you very much. We really appreciated your presentation. And Maurice and Martin, kindly tell us your parting shot.
Okay, so so thank you everyone for your time today. I really hope there's something that you have gained to help support your business. Our interest is for you to grow, and we are here to help you navigate any regulatory changes that may come up in the US for now, or any other destination country that you are shipping to. We've left our contacts on the chat, so in case there's any follow-up discussion you'd like us to have, please feel free to reach out. We'll be very, very happy to continue to support you. Thank you again for the team at CAPROBA for hosting your members, and hopefully we have another successful session very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Martin. And from my side, I want to thank each of you for creating time to be with us. I see a number of you asking how you can get hold of us. So I'll share our email, the DHL email, which you can use to get hold of us. And there's also a I shared earlier on. So for those SMEs who want the kind of thing that we will be able to come back to you and guide you on way forward with regards to your SME. All in all, we appreciate you. We are here to connect you and improve your lives. So please feel free to talk to us, feel free to engage with us, and we shall support you. This collaboration with the Keproba is ongoing. We are going to have monthly engagements, so watch out on what's happening between us and Keproba for your SMEs, for your businesses. We are looking forward to supporting your business growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly click the link. We need the survey so that we can see areas where we need improvement. It's very important. Ngonga has even shared his email address, whom you can contact. And also DHL have also shared their link where you can contact them. So ladies and gentlemen, as you heard, there's more coming. We'll be having this every month and more regular webinars so that we can provide all the information. So now we're coming to that close, and now I'd like to invite Jerry to say a word of prayer. Closing. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for joining, and let's pray. Lord God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the beautiful opportunity we've had to discuss matters on U.S. logistics and compliance. Help us work together to enhance our export capacity here in Kenya and improve our businesses. I pray this trusting and believing. Amen.
Amen and goodbye. Bye. You may leave.
Bye. Thank you.